an inmate at Nevada Southern Detention Center. Your account balance is $15.15. To hear the charges for this call, press or say 2. To accept this call, press or say 5. To refuse this call, hang up now. To block this call and all future calls, press or say 9. This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. Thank you for using IC Solutions. You may begin speaking now.
Oh, hello.
Hey, man, I'm so glad you called. I have read that document. It blew me away. I had to make a video on that. That's the most insane thing I've ever seen in my freaking life. The fact they gave you a motion in limine that you cannot disparage the judiciary or the legal system. That is the most insane thing ever.
Are you serious? I haven't even read these motions yet, man. I'm just hearing what people are telling me. I haven't been, they didn't disclose it to me yet. I'll probably have it Monday or Tuesday sent to me. But yeah, I mean, just from what I'm hearing, it's quite shocking they're bringing all these things up. They don't want me to put on any defense, according to these 5 documents.
It's docket number. I read docket number 455, and it says that you are not going to be allowed to disparage the judiciary or the criminal justice system. And then they actually go through some of our phone calls where, you talk about how bad the judicial system is, and I agree with you. And I didn't read them all, but I just read. It's just insanity, man. These guys. I mean, I can't even believe it. It's like that's where the prosecutors are spending their time. I mean, we got pedophiles out in the world, and we got people breaking the law all over the place. But they're going to spend their time listening to you and I on a phone call. Maybe they should read a book. How about Gulag Archipelago?
Right, they're worried about jury nullification. They don't want. They don't want me to put on any defense. They're scared to death. They know that they screwed up, and they're admitting it in all those documents. It starts from 450. You said you read 455. Only one I was able to read through an email was 450, and that one's ridiculous too. But I bet they're all ridiculous.
Yeah.
They according to, I got a summary about all 5 of them, and they just don't want me to put on any witnesses, any evidence. They want me to just stand in front of the jury, I guess.
Yeah. How about? Hey, Omar. Why don't they don't even want you to have a public trial? They don't want the public to be interested in your trial. So what's the point of even having it? Why don't they just have a secret trial, just convince you guilty and throw you in a hellhole for 20 years, and let's not even do a public trial where people are interested in what happens. These people are so wicked, they don't even realize how wicked they are, and they don't even understand, that you do things in the light above board where people can come and evaluate and the public can pay attention to what's going on, but they don't want the public to pay attention to what's going on with you.
Exactly. Like I've been saying, they've been stopping the public from coming to my hearings. Almost every hearing I've had no audience because they would, at the last minute, remember the last 3 hearings in the past, they pushed off the times. You know what I mean? At the last second on the docket, so no one can show up.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing now that they're doing a motion about it. I don't know what they're doing, but they're trying to silence me. They don't want no attention on this. It's like the Salem witch trials all over again.
Right.
And they just want it secret. The Constitution says you have a right to a fair and public trial. Well, according to these last 5 documents filed by the government, they don't want none of that. They're saying F the Constitution, basically. And it is shocking, man. That's why I really wanted to call you and let some people know what's going on, because this is it's ridiculous. Not only did they just beat me and throw me in the shoe, I'm in solitary for nothing. They know it. And now they're doing this, and I mean, just realistically, who can prepare for trial representing themselves with no assistance of counsel? 5 motions in limine that I have to reply to within 10 days or so. It's not possible. I mean, realistically,
No, it's insanity, man. The only way they can beat you is if they tie your hands behind your back, and that's what they're trying to do. And they're so scared that someone is going to find out what's going on that they don't want the public to come to your trial. They don't want you to be allowed to talk negatively about the judiciary. I mean, hey, God forbid, Omar, that you say anything negative or disparaging about the criminal justice system that's kept you in prison for 42 freaking months. And the fact that they're listening to every phone call that you make and making a transcript of it, they don't have nothing against you. They're just trying to like paint a picture. And what kind of college millennials are running your prosecution, man? I mean, it's the most insane thing I've ever heard of.
Well, I know. This is why I've been trying to let people know my case is so outrageous. I mean, think about it, man. If anybody, any regular Joe, would go into court or tell the public that I have been coerced into a false confession. I was coerced by a detective who is now arrested and convicted. He was arrested for sexual assault charges and stuff like that. And he's been convicted and fired. This man, wearing a ski mask, coerced me to do a false confession, making me feel like he was going to charge my mother. I would take a bullet for my mother.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Amen, I do.
So they're not even letting me have a hearing about whether it was coerced or not. They don't want the public to know this. They're saying, oh, he confessed, and therefore he should not put on any defense. They planted my DNA on that gun. I have proof of it. They don't even want me to argue that. And like I said, I can't tell all the details about that, but I have evidence that they tampered and they physically tampered with the evidence to put my DNA on that gun. I can show that clearly.
I don't doubt it one bit, Omar. I think the Las Vegas Metro Police Department is absolutely corrupt as hell, and that goes along with the Nevada judiciary, along with the prosecution. Let me say this: I believe the problem that one of the problems that we have in America is that the prosecutors and the judges operate with absolute immunity. They know that they can get away with this sort of thing with this motion in limines. They can throw you in jail with no trial for 42 months, and they know that most of the time, most people don't care. They simply turn a blind eye, and unless the people rise up and do something about it, they will continue to have immunity, and they never get prosecuted. But if we can hold these people accountable and put them in prison, I mean, and make them responsible for the wickedness that they're doing, then we'll start to see things change. And I pray to God that some of these wicked reprobates that have came after you and kept you in prison for 42 months, that a bright light is shined on their wickedness, and that they're perp walked into a prison cell and make them sit in prison for 42 months like you've done for what they've done to you. I mean, you got to hold these people accountable, and right now they're operating with immunity, and because they're operating with immunity, it emboldens them to do even more wickedness.
Right. They've already done Brady violations clearly on the record, and that's why they're scared to death that I'm gonna show it, which has already been shown. They've withheld documents that's in their possession right now that they won't hand over to me because they know it's so damaging to their case. And on top of all that, it's just. It's just quite shocking that I'm not. They don't want me to put on any defense. I mean, there's no point of a trial.
Yeah.
The trial is set to safeguard these constitutional protections and to our liberties. You know what I mean? Just fundamental liberties, and that's the whole point of making sure that they step within those bounds. If I'm not allowed a trial that's fair in public, then there's just no need for a trial. You might as well just hang me right now, which they've already done.
No, you're right. Has the judge even said you're going to be able to be unshackled and wear regular clothes, or is you still going to have to defend yourself wearing shackles and an orange jumpsuit?
Yeah, well, as of now, I mean, unless he changes his mind. He did say he might change his mind, but as of now, I will be shackled in front of the jury. Yeah. Taking notes, representing myself, going through my paperwork, which is impossible. That people can't believe that. There's just so much in my case. I'm telling you, it's so outrageous because it's the issues that I'm bringing up that can affect our entire nation. That could do a ripple effect to this whole judiciary. That I don't think the people really understand how big my trial really means. I've been in here 42 months learning and researching the law and our values as a nation as a whole, and how we all need to be united, and the stuff that the corruption that they're doing, and they do not want me to expose that.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I believe you. I believe you, Omar.
Yeah, these laws are corrupt. Some of them are expired. They're holding me on expired legislation, and they've admitted it by their silence. The courts and the prosecution have both admitted it, including the Ninth Circuit. And I pray that the Supreme Court finally looks at this matter, because it's in their hands right now. And that's what they're scared of,
Yeah, well, I think you made a good point earlier about what's the point in having a damn trial? I mean, why not just march you in there in an orange jumpsuit with your shackles on? You're not allowed to say anything, Omar. Don't say one word that's disparaging about the judicial system. You be quiet. Let's have the prosecutor say a bunch of damaging stuff. Have him do all this accusations, and have the prosecutor say whatever he wants to say, and then the jury will find you guilty, and the judge says, just back to jail for 20 years, and you don't get to say a damn word. I mean, it's the most absurd thing I've ever heard of in my life, and I pray to God that people wake up, and if when your trial date comes, and you might want to remind them of the dates, but I pray they flood that courthouse with eyeballs and witnesses, and they hold that judge and that prosecutor accountable for what's going on.
As of now, it's July 30.
Okay. That's
when we'll start jury selection. So it's July 30, 2018. It's about to go down. I mean, it's been a long time waiting, because they've tried to held it off as long as they can.
Yeah.
And now that Ninth Circuit's already been through this whole case, and the Supreme Court it's in their hands right now. Now they want to take me to trial. I mean, even my neighbor here in Solitary just said that he's seen people fighting murder cases for less time. They've fought it for maybe 2 years, whatever. But 42 months, that's an entire sentence for all types of crimes.
Right. Well, they want everybody to take a plea deal. They don't expect everybody to fight anything, because they scare you to death with like 10, 20-year sentences. And even if you're innocent, there's no way you're going to go fight it, because you never get a fair trial anyway. So you're a very rare individual that stuck it out and is going to fight this thing all the way to the end. And people just don't understand how bad our court systems are. They just don't have a clue. And these people who operate as prosecutors and judges, man, we have got to hold them accountable to the Constitution and just to public fair trials. They withhold exculpatory evidence. You mentioned Brady violations, Omar. When you say that word Brady violation, do you mean withholding exculpatory evidence? Is that basically the same thing?
Yeah, they've concealed evidence that is impeaching to their detective, the one I was telling you about, the corrupt one who's been fired and convicted. They don't want me to show his internal affair files, which could impeach him and show that he's not reliable or credible, that he's a criminal himself. And it's already been disclosed in other cases. You know,
right?
But they won't give it in my case, because they know that I will be able to use it to my advantage, and that's But the court has thus far allowed it to happen. When I told the judge that they have it in their hand right there, it's been disclosed in U.S. versus Ward, denied. What do you mean denied? It's in their hands. This is judicial corruption too, and this is why they don't want me speaking about it, because this judge is violating the law himself.
I agree. You mentioned judicial corruption, where the judges are corrupt. I just watched a documentary the other day with Darlie Routier. She was accused of killing her two kids, and they compared the audio with the actual transcript that was filed in the court records. It's way off, man. Even the court reporter is in on this corruption. There were answers that were diametrically the opposite of what she court reported in the transcript. But if you go listen to the audio, it's the opposite of the audio. And so you got corruption with the court reporters. You got corruption with the crime labs. I've got one documentary. It's called. It's the Jose Baez. He put a presumed guilty or presumed innocent with, it was the Casey Anthony murder. And that particular book that he wrote, the crime labs were full of corrupt forensics laboratory technicians who were basically performing the will of the district attorney and the prosecutor. And they were given results that were friendly to the prosecutor, and they would withhold results that were friendly to the defense. And then we also have coroners for ballistics that were alcoholics, and they're giving coroner reports that are all wrong. And they want to simply advance their careers rather than promote truth and justice. People don't understand how wicked it is, from the court reporters to the coroners to the forensic crime labs. I mean, nobody gets a fair trial in America nowadays.
Yeah, I just heard about it in Baltimore and a lot of other cities and states. It's going all over the country. You know, and I don't know when the people are really going to wake up. I mean, the Judge Peggy Lean, who was also on the Bundy case in my situation, literally lied that I threw a U.S. Marshal over a table. And to this day, it still sticks in the court records.
Wow.
That I did that. I never did that. It never happened.
Yep.
It never happened.
Just outright lies.
I would be charged for it. If you look up my name on the LexisNexis or in court records right now, and you see it was a detention order she did, she says I threw a U.S. Marshal over a table. I mean, where? How? It never happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is insanity. And the Ninth Circuit just affirms it. What I'm saying, it never happened. I should be given a hearing about it. I mean, you know, So, I mean, this is insanity. It's at its best. You know, and well, you know, it happened in the Bundy case too. You know, they did the same thing to Ryan and Ammon. They beat them up. They threw them in the holding cell, trying to make them look like they're bad people. They're not. They never did nothing wrong. You know, and then they try to take them. They did the same thing. They put these motions in limine. You know, they're doing the same thing to me now. And you know, and in these motions, they're talking about how I'm a supporter and friend of the Bundys. I've typed in documents for Todd or for the Bundys and whatnot. And you know. What does that have to do with my case?
Right.
What does it have to do with anything?
It's like
talking to you. What does that have to do with the case? Nothing.
Yeah. So what if you're friends with the Bundys? Does that mean you're a domestic terrorist now? You know that does the government think?
Well, they hate.
Yeah.
They hate the Bundys so much with a passion that they hate everyone who is their even friend.
I mean,
you know?
Are we in third grade, Omar, where the government is our third grade teacher, and the teacher's telling us who we can be friends with and who we can't be friends with? This is crazy, man. I'm sick of the government. I really am.
They're sure acting like it. You know, while I sit in a cell, you know, for 42 months, it's just, you know, like I said, no one can understand. Well, you have a right to a speedy trial. Yeah, where at? Not here.
Not here.
I mean,
right.
I'd be better in Japan. I mean, I don't know, you know, but
you know, I heard somebody say that America has the best judicial system in the world until you start comparing it with every other country. It's like we have the worst judicial system. It really is terrible, and nobody gets a fair trial. And these prosecutors and these judges have just simply gone off the rails, and they operate with immunity, and they need to be held accountable. And the only way that's going to happen is if people flood that courtroom and watch every move that's made, and you know, just start bringing you know, eyeballs into the courtroom as court monitors.
This is how it used to be done, and this is how it constantly needs to be done.
Yeah.
You know, John Adams said that the jury system. He said that he quoted it as being basically the lung and the heart of liberty. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is to hold them within the bounds of the Constitution. You know, the judiciary and the prosecution. You know, it's just not being upheld like it used to be, man. And you know, it's really everyone that needs to get together and see what's going on. It should be an outrage, man.
You know what the next step is, Omar?
To anybody.
Yeah. You know what the next step is, and this has already happened to me with a few other prisoners. But they're simply gonna dislike you so much that they won't even allow your phone calls to come out of that prison anymore. They're going to ban you from communicating with me or anybody else. They've already done this. They've already done this with other prisoners, and they just don't like you, and they're going to put you in a secret prison hellhole, and they're going to try to put you away. But we're praying for you, brother, and you're a very strong individual. I'll let you have whatever time we have left, brother.
Yeah. I guess we got a minute left. Just going to hang up. I've been just trying to get the word out. Like I said, the stuff is going on is so shocking and unbelievable. The people can't even believe it. They're like, he must be a liar. Well, yeah. I invite everyone to come to my hearings to see with their own eyes what's going on. This is unbelievable. Read these documents, and just keep prayers for me. And I think I'll come out on top, man. So,
hey, is it still? Yeah, no problem. Change.org and search for Omar Qazi, and people can find your petition. And
Omar Qazi, Qazi.
Yeah. Well, I pray that people get involved.
Well,
yeah.
All right, take care, man. It's going to hang up.
All right. God bless you, Omar, and our prayers are with you. And I pray that people do support you. And we just ran out of time. Man, that 20 minutes goes by quick, but I can't believe what's happening to Omar. I mean, it's just the most insane thing I've ever heard of. And these prosecutors, they just listened to that whole conversation. And they're going to try to use parts of that conversation to influence the judge. And I don't really give a rat's behind on what they do and what they don't do. This is America. We have the right to say disparaging things against corruption. And we're not living in the USSR where we have the Gulag Archipelago and these tyrants telling us you can't say anything disparaging against the judicial system or the criminal justice reform. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what I can say and what I can't say, and it shouldn't even be, you shouldn't be telling Omar that he can't say anything disparaging. If somebody wants to say something disparaging, then they should be able to say something disparaging. And that's how we fix things instead of having tyrants telling us to shut up. And if I sound a little angry, well, I'm just getting sick and tired of the corruption within our American judicial system. And I'm getting sick and tired of getting phone calls from prisoners that are being railroaded in BS prisons and BS prosecutions and BS judges, and the prosecutors and the judges, they're the ones that need to go to prison for a long time, and they need to sleep on a concrete bed with a half-inch mattress. They need to have temperature deviations that are freezing cold and boiling hot. They need to be strip searched. They need to be just strip searched and delegitimized as a human being. They're the ones who need to go through all this pepper spray and being talked to down by guards. But the righteous people that are trying to correct the judicial system, they're the ones that are getting punished. But in reality, it's the prosecutors and the judges and the FBI, the alcoholic forensic laboratory, criminal laboratories. It's the fake coroners. It's the fake court reporters. All you guys need to get what's coming. And justice comes from Jesus. And I pray that Jesus Christ rains down justice on this criminal justice BS like a mighty river.